Good afternoon and welcome back to the Wilton Bowling Club in Wellington as we get set to bring you coverage of the Women's Intercentre Final from the 2021 National Intercentre Championships here in Wellington. It is Dunedin taking on Nelson. Dunedin upsetting Canterbury 2-1 in their semi-final, winning the singles 25-16, the pairs 16-12 and losing the fours 22-13, while Nelson made it through to this stage after they got the better of the host centre Wellington in a very tight tussle. The pairs game going to an extra end, and that decided 16-15 the way of Nelson after they won the fours 18-13 and were beaten in the singles 25-23. Joe Edwards, the familiar figure for Nelson, looking for a fifth National Intercentre title for Nelson, playing Beth Brown of Dunedin as we are underway on the first end in this first 225 singles matchup. We'll keep you up to date with this game, of course, the pairs and the fours alongside the men's intercentre final, which is also taking place here at the Ortali Green at the Wilton Bowling Club, Southland, up against Auckland. As I welcome back Kevin Hickland.
Yes, good afternoon, Brenton, and my goodness, those semi-finals this morning, we certainly saw changing fortunes, didn't we? And we saw in the men's, of course, Auckland just scraped through over the Wairarapa after they'd been 1-1 and came down to literally the last bowl in that men's fours, and Southland, of course, defeating Wellington, which was somewhat of an upset, and so Southland through to their final, and of course Dunedin in the women's this morning defeating the very powerful Canterbury side in one semi-final, and of course in the other semi-final we saw Nelson defeat Wellington, which was a pretty tight encounter, I believe, their semi-final. So we've got the Nelson side, which when we look at it with the likes of Joe Edwards, Val Smith, Kirsten Edwards, Amy McElroy, and we've got a bit of a New Zealand ensemble here with those players. Katie Scott, very well performed player as well, as is Colin Earl, and of course great effort from the Dunedin side, Sarah Scott and Bronwyn Stevens, who've gone through 8 from 8 through to this final. Beth Brown playing the singles, Angie Francis, Vicky Robinson and Jan Hall and Shona Mann in the fours. So the first end here has Joe Edwards, we see, holding 2 shots. Great to have, of course, Joe Edwards and Val Smith now living back in New Zealand and part of the Nelson side. Have always been very, very loyal Nelsonians.
Yeah, looking for their 5th National Intercentre title, Nelson. Joe Edwards has been a part of all 4 of their previous successes. Val Smith's been there for 3 as well, so very important players. But when you look through the side, McElroy's won this title before, Kirsten Edwards, Gemma Watts, Barbara McGregor, so who's not playing today but part of the wider squad. So they've got a very, very strong lineup, but Dunedin cannot be counted out. Obviously the upset win over a strong Canterbury side in the semi-final earlier today, but also won their section, which included the defending champions Auckland, who did not make it out of section play.
No, well, of course, you know, in the men's as well, Canterbury, the defending champions, weren't here on finals day, so we've certainly seen some changes within the finalists, as we see Joe Edwards now holding up against Beth Brown in the race to 25. Joe Edwards, we don't have to say really anything about Joe's achievements, accomplishments over the years, without doubt. The number 1 world singles player for a number of years, and great to have her back. Although she's been playing for New Zealand, with announcing her retirement from international play, as we see Beth Brown trying to get down to these Edwards counting bowls, not going to. In fact, turns one of her own over. Don't think it'll make any difference. Sue Wei, the marker, see her indicating the shots. Definitely Joe Edwards not giving anything away here. Out comes the measure.
I think a measure.
So one's been taken out. I think it might be more than one though, Brenton.
Yeah, certainly from our angle, it suggests that. Yeah, right, Suway the marker, allowing the players to sort it out for themselves. Two
it was to Joe Edwards on this opening end. A wee bit more breeze this afternoon, Brenton, than what we had this morning. Still not.
But it has warmed up though.
It has warmed up, absolutely, and the breeze is certainly not to detriment to the players. That's for sure.
You see both players in their t-shirts. A lot of players are playing in their t-shirts this afternoon. Saw a few jackets around, but yeah, it's not a major breeze. And those who know the Wilton Bowling Club, the Otari Green is a bit more sheltered down here, the bottom green, where we are playing our finals of these 2021 National Intercentre Championships. For those who don't know Wilton too well, we're not too far away from Wellington City Centre, pretty much just on the other side of Te Ahu Mairangi Hill, which is on the other side of that is where the Prime Minister lives, and then there's the Beehive just a stone's throw from there too, and we're in a valley near the suburb of Karori as well, and suburb of Wilton, and beautiful bush like setting we have here. We've got the Zealandia Wildlife Sanctuary nearby, so often hear the calls of the tui and the kereru and the kaka flying overhead.
A good opening bowl from Joe Edwards on this second end, although ends don't count in this race to 25. And Beth Brown knows that, well, this is a big match for her. We know what Joe Edwards, we know the capability of this magnificent player, and here's Edwards coming around on her forehand, endeavouring to get past the short bowl of Beth Brown's, draw down to the jack.
So Beth Brown coming off a win in the semi-final, 25-16 singles victory against Canterbury. Joe Edwards was beaten 25-23 for her second defeat in the singles of these National Intercentre Championships. Beth Brown was just her third win from 8 matches in the singles. Their real strength, as you mentioned before, Bronwyn Stevens and Sarah Scott, 8 from 8 in the pairs, and they've just built from that, because that get a guaranteed point every time, and then hopefully either the singles or fours picks up some success, and they've pretty much alternated their success, the Beth Brown or the four, skipped by Angie Francis.
Well, a big scalp from Beth Brown in that semi-final this morning. That would have been defeating
Taylor Bruce
in that semi-final, and here's Brown here trying to get down to the shot bowler. Edwards just sit on it, just goes by, and will be 2 down, and Joe Edwards will just maintain that draw on her forehand, round putt down, just coming past the short bowl of Beth Brown's, gives herself a metre to get by there, and will be in the counting area, as this bowl of Edwards is going to be as well, just coming past that bowl now, and finally judged by Joe Edwards. And you see those bowls all coming back towards the centre line. Just made such a big difference about those effective bowls that we spoke about earlier on today in the Craig Merrilies v Seamus Curtin game in the Wellington Southland semi-final.
Yeah, the men's National Intercentre final was started a few moments before the women's final as well, so we'll keep you up to date between that contest between Southland, who we saw this morning beating Wellington, and Auckland, who got the better of Wairarapa. From my brief little bit of research, Southland's never won. Auckland looking for their 5th title. Were we able to establish if Southland have been into a final before?
The people that I spoke to was that never, to the best of their knowledge, has that been the case. Joe Edwards, she's opened up very well here, 2 on the first end, holding 3 shots. And
so it is really great for one of the smaller centres, and obviously Wairarapa, even a smaller centre. We're trying to get into the final and push Auckland to the absolute limit.
Beth Brown really needs to get a bowl on the head. And looking at something that's going on there.
Yeah, the Dunedin men's players are watching on as well. It's just a bowl from the fours final alongside this one. Just waiting for that to be played before Beth Brown delivers, with the head is well up the green and the fours match alongside. So just taking her time as Beth Brown.
Changing
over the players now.
Changing over.
So that's the fours final. Angie Francis, I mentioned, the skip of the Dunedin four. Vicky Robinson, Jan Hall and Shona Mann up against the Kirsten Edwards skipped Nelson quartet featuring Amy McElroy, Katie Scott and Gemma Watt.
So Beth Brown now 3 down. Certainly took her time to make sure to give her every chance to get her bowl close to the head, and looks as though she's going to. Might even sit on the shot bowl if Joe Edwards does so.
Oh, wonderfully played.
And 3 down, and may well have turned that into shot. Joe Edwards it is.
Yeah, it is. Wonderfully played. Rightly so, taking her time there, Beth Brown. Early stages of the match, yes, but knew there was a big moment early on. Didn't want to drop a 3, and did not just cut out the shots, but grabbed the shot for herself. So 2-1 now, and our singles match, which we are bringing to you, of the Women's National Intercentre Championships final. And it's Joe Edwards of Nelson leading Beth Brown of Dunedin 2-1 in this first 2:25. We say race 2:25, but the way it's been so far, it's been more of a crawl.
It's not a race.
It certainly hasn't been a race, has it? It's just those 4 extra shots to get to 25 make it even longer singles. So these singles matches are finishing for the most part around the same time as the pairs in the fours.
A lot of singles in that game we did, this morning. The game we covered, the Seamus Curtin game. So Beth Brown now would be relieved to get that scoring shot against Joe Edwards. And there's no doubt, Brenton, you know, obviously Beth Brown, a very, very good draw player in Dunedin, but psychologically, you know, you're coming up against one of the best the best singles player in the world, and it is a big ask. It's a big challenge. Psychologically, it is a big challenge.
How many shots do you think that gives Jo when she stands on the mat to start a match? At this level, I think it's worth 5. Going, I've got to play Jo Edwards.
See,
she's going to give me nothing. She's going to do this end after end after end
exactly.
after end.
It
doesn't matter how well I play, you know, in some ways.
You know very well that the likelihood of Jo Edwards having, let's say, a couple of rough ends is somewhat remote.
Exactly right.
So you've just got to make sure you hang in there, and just hoping that you can just consistently draw and it can work in your favour.
And I think the other thing is maybe hope, she's not the same Jo Edwards that she was when she played for New Zealand, because
Correct.
she isn't putting as much time into her bowls now that she's retired. It was starting to become a bit of a chore, and that was the sign for her that, yep, I need to call it quits here on international games. Still playing, obviously, at club level and here at National Intercentre Championships, but she will not be putting as much time in. So you think, well, maybe I do have a chance against this Jo Edwards.
So Beth Brown has drawn the shot with that her second bowl. You'll see it in behind the Jack. Edwards now onto her backhand, looking up to just...
might have been a kaka flying overhead
something
again.
Happened there, just on a good line here. Is Jo Edwards is going to get all the way to the Jack or the shot? Yes, it will. It just runs by a fraction. So Beth Brown will endeavour to come past her own bowl.
So on the rink alongside this, we have the fours, which Dunedin are leading 1-0 after the first of 15 ends. And we also, on the rink alongside that, is the pairs. As I mentioned, Bronwyn Stevens and Sarah Scott against Colleen Earle and Val Smith. So 2 very strong pairs combinations. Stevens and Scott have been unbeatable so far at these National Intercentre Championships. 8 from 8. While Colleen Earle and Val Smith have lost just the 1 of their 7 games and came through a titanic tussle in their semi-final to beat Wellington's pair, make it through to this final.
So Joey Bids, one down on the head, following this, her third bowl. And again, this is on a good line, but it's going to finish outside what is the shot bowl, the bowl of Beth Brown's, which is in behind the jack. And Beth Brown endeavoured to try and beat her last bowl, which had good weight, just a fraction on the wide side, but wasn't that far away from getting that desired result for her. And in the men's, I can tell you that it is Gary Lawson leading 5-1 after 2 ends. It's in the fours. Jamie Hill in the singles is leading Craig Merrill's 6 shots to 5 in the race to 25. And can't quite see the peers board.
I think it's 3 apiece after 4 of the 18 ends. Yes, 3 apiece. Now obviously Sheldon Baggery Howley and Elliot Mason up against Mike Galloway and Tony Grantham. Peers.
We see the bowl of Beth Brown, Jack Lewell, Joe Edwards looking closely at the shot to see whether that is the shot bowl, whether the shot bowl is in fact the Beth Brown bowl in behind the head, or in fact her own bowl just lower the jack.
I think that's the target, whatever the case is.
Yeah, we might just see
bowl with just a couple of yards behind the jack, land on that. If it's the shot, you're grabbing the shot for yourself, or you can maybe turn it into 2 if you indeed already hold.
So Joe Edwards playing on that backhand draw.
Closely following this one down.
And the Edwards bowl has gone through the head, and just indicating now, Beth Brown, just out comes the measure, which we sort of expected. Beth Brown was confident, or the marker. So the measure is out. Joe Edwards doing the measuring. It's close actually, and Joe Edwards always indicated it was close because she had a really good look at the head before playing her last bowl, and measuring to the front bowl, which is the Joe Edwards bowl, now coming around to the Dunedin bowl, the Beth Brown bowl, which is in behind there, sitting right on the centre line. And this is good. That is, it's the 1-2 Beth Brown.
So tied up 2 apiece now, Beth Brown of Dunedin and Joe Edwards of Nelson. And this, the final of the National Inter-Centre Championships here in Wellington. The women's final and men's final also taking place here at the Otari Green, the bottom green at the Wilton Bowling Club. And we'll keep you up to date with that one throughout as well. It looks like Nelson have the early lead in the pairs, 3-0. They are leading. That is Val Smith and Colleen Earl up against Sarah Scott and Bronwyn Stevens, the unbeaten Scott-Stevens combination.
Colleen Earl has won, a large number of Nelson titles over the years, and has been part of the Nelson side, plays out of the Nelson club, where of course now Joe Edwards and Val Smith also play out of. And I can also tell you the Nelson Club, they won the Women's Inter Club, so they'll be in the finals. And only just, in fact, last weekend, they also won the Bowls 3-5. Richard Collett, Val Smith and Joe Edwards won the Nelson Bowls 3-5. So it's a very good combination, Val Smith and Colin Earl. And then the fours, the Nelson fours side, of course, when you consider Kirsten Edwards, Amy McElroy, Katie Scott and Gemma Watt's a very, very strong side as well. Edwards we just saw earlier on a few weeks back, and of course down Central Otago, part of the Mandy Boyd winning fours side. So a very good side, Nelson.
Certainly are. Very, very strong. Dunedin though trying to continue their run through. Of course, perhaps it was a bit of a surprise. They won their section, which featured the defending champions, Auckland. Auckland not even making it through to the quarterfinals, which was the first surprise of these National Intercentre Championships. And then to beat Northland yesterday in the quarterfinals, maybe not a surprise, but knocking over Canterbury, a very strong Canterbury side featuring Andy Boyd, Taylor Bruce, past and present Blackjacks, and obviously Sandra Keith, a very strong player as well.
And what it highlights, Brenton, it highlights again the great thing about the Intercentre event, because name and form doesn't really mean very much at all. You're out there playing for your province, and the form guide doesn't always go the way that we nearly saw it this morning, for example, with Wairarapa against the Powerpack Auckland side in the men's semi-final. So the Intercentre is a completely different situation, whereby you just get out there representing your province, and the only difference is other person's wearing a different coloured shirt to you, and you're out there playing for your centre, doing your best, as all of these players, of course, are endeavouring to do in this final.
A few members of the Kevin, of the Otago or Dunedin men's Intercentre team watching on as well. I saw Roger Stevens and Andy McLean also in the crowd watching on, supporting the Dunedin women's side as they look to win the National Intercentre for the first time. Looking back through the records, Otago won in 1985, but not as Dunedin as a centre.
Yeah, I don't know why that came about. What the change was, whether some of the outlying areas were part of that centre at that point. I'm not 100% sure what brought that about, but named now as Dunedin, because we've got in that whole area, we've got Dunedin, Central Otago and South Otago, so there are 3 centres in that whole area. So Beth Brown, 1 down here on the head, 2-all up against Joe Edwards, this first to 25.
And as I mentioned, Nelson going for their 5th title. All have featured Joe Edwards in it. Last 4. Auckland likewise in the men's trying to win their 5th. Their most recent coming in 2016.
So Beth Brown is going to fall short. Yeah. I think if you look at that Auckland team now, from out there now, I'm sure the last victory, I'm sure Jordan King may well be the only player.
Yeah, I did see that.
I'm sure he's been
part of the 2016 side.
That was in this side, who was part of that last winning side for Auckland. As Joey Bird's going to make 2 shots here for sure, comes back. Is it? Here comes the centre line, just goes past. Definitely it's Edwards that scored. They take out the first bowl. May only be the one when you look at that. It looks though it is just
2.
It is 2.
Yeah, so I think that one did count. So 4-2. Now, Nelson's Joe Edwards leading Dunedin's Beth Brown in this first 225 singles match. One of 3 matches taking place in the final of the women's Intercentre Championships. We have the men's Intercentre final as well taking place alongside us on this rink. We'll keep you up to date of that. That is between Southland and Auckland.
It's interesting though, Brenton, that the Auckland men's side is literally a reformed side, because of recent times, of course, Mike Galloway has not been available for Auckland. Tony Grantham, of course, was playing out of North Harbour. Rory Soden was also playing out of North Harbour. Aidan Takara, he's part of the side, and of course the furniture van that moved from Christchurch to Auckland with Gary Lawson in it. And Jamie Hill, of course, was not playing as well. So it is literally, with Father Neville Hill as the manager, it is literally a reformed Auckland side. So well done to them. As we watch, Joe Edwards is drawing the shot pretty close to the lower the jack. Beth Brown, though, not to be outdone, just draws jack level alongside the jack. Joe Edwards asking who's got the shot, asking Sue Way of who's got the shot. I'm picking, she'll say it's the, I thought she might say measure, but definitely one, and her count. Joe Edwards asking whether the bowl's jack high or jack low. It's literally sitting jack level from what we can see on the monitor.
Yeah, I think Sue was indicating slightly jack high.
So Joe Edwards, you saw the head come up there as looking for the wind or the cause about the wind. I don't really think, to be fair, Brenton, that the wind's going to make a great deal of difference. Sure, we can see a wee bit of swirling around there, but I don't think it's...
No, it's not having a huge impact out there. Certainly not from our lovely sheltered commentary position.
But this morning, of course, we watched the Mirrorleys Seamus Curtin game, and you know, all the bowls were coming back to the centre line.
Oh, yes.
And they were playing out in that vicinity of the green. So I've got no concerns relative to the wind, as that bowler Beth Brown is going to pull up short, holding the shot. And will we see Joe Edwards now? It's that line for Joe is under that line of the shorter bowl. Beth Brown's endeavouring to get up to the what is indicated by Sue Way as being the shot.
Well, Val Smith and Colleen Earl made a very strong start in the pairs. 8-0 they lead Sarah Scott and Bronwyn Stevens after 3 of the 18 ends.
Is it going to get all the way? The Joe Edwards bowl, no, falls out, not in, asking, and Beth Brown asking the marker, Sue Way, whether that was the shot or not, that bowl of Joe Edwards, which came in low of the jack.
4s so far going the way of Dunedin, 2-0. So Nelson leading 2 of the 3, 1 going Dunedin's way. Wind gusts come through. Lower green here, the Otari green at the Wilton Bowling Club. There's Beth Brown, slightly narrow, and lands on one of the Joe Edwards bowls, promotes it a bit closer to the jack. Now indicating that Joe Edwards has shot as a result. As our marker Sue Way.
It certainly looks like shot. Got that touch on the bowl. Edwards now playing the backhand, leading 4-2 in this race to 25. I can tell you in the Auckland Southland game, it is Auckland leading the pairs 5-3. And it's 7-6 to Southland in the 8-7. Sorry, to Auckland. It's Craig Mirrorleys v Jamie Hill, and the 4s. We can't see that board, but we'll keep you updated as we see now. Beth Brown trying to get to the shot bowl, slightly narrow with it last, which caused the effect of just knocking the Joe Edwards bowl. The head, she's on a wider line with this. How's the weight? How far is this going to come back to the jack? Is it going to go by? Just went by, didn't quite get that touch on the jack, but was...
Very good effort.
It was certainly in the area.
So 1
just the
to
one.
Joe Edwards. So 5-2 it is now. The multiple World Commonwealth Games champion Joe Edwards leading Beth Brown. In the singles match of the pairs and the 4s taking place alongside. 4s currently going the way of Dunedin, 2-0 after 2 of the 15 ends, and after 3 of the 18 ends, 8-0. It is Val Smith and Colleen Earl leading Sarah Scott and Bronwyn Stevens. So Nelson up in 2 of the 3. And it looks like seen Southland score at least... Was it 4, was it? So
well, I just saw the hands go up a moment ago.
Yeah, so they've taken the lead in their 4s match-up against Auckland. So it's 6-5 it is. Southland leading Auckland after 4 of the 15 ends in the 4s. Auckland are leading in the pairs and the singles, but now down in the 4s after a 4 scored by Southland on the 4th end.
So here is Beth Brown in this race to 25 with Joe Edwards leading 5-2. Saw the first bowl just go past the jack. This bowler Beth Brown's now trying to get all the way up towards the jack. How far is it going to run? That'll be shot, just sits lower the jack, and certainly be the shot. Joe Edwards now on her backhand side. And looks to be on a better line, this bowl. How's the weight as it comes back now towards that centre line? Is it going to get all the way? No, it won't. We'll finish literally on the centre line, but lower the jack. So Beth Brown now endeavouring to... She's only just holding the shot. Needs to draw out to that Joe Edwards bowl, and she's certainly given the bowl green to get out to where that bowl is. It's going to depend. Hasn't got the weight though.
It looks on a great track.
It was because it's inside. Anything inside that Joe Edwards bowl is, in fact, would count. And so Joe Edwards play on her backhand. Trying to get past the shorter bowls to get down to the jack, and will run into her own bowl, just lower the jack. Won't make any difference. Asking Sue Way, the marker, who's got the shot, and indicating the Joe Edwards bowls just under a metre lower the jack. So main thing is to make sure you draw past those bowls. Don't want to run into them like happened on the last end, of course, which gave the shot away.
Taking her time on the mat. And there's Beth Brown. Just waiting for play to unfold on the rink alongside the fours taking place alongside this singles contest. You can see
6 rigs being used, Brendan, as well, so it does, clog the green up a wee bit. And so far as players do need to wait for other players to play. This looks a better bowl here from Beth Brown. How far is this going to run? Certainly was on that right line. It'll come right back to the centre line. And so Joe Edwards asking, so are we going to see now Joe Edwards endeavour to play down, reaching what is the shot bowl, turn it through the head.
Yeah, those are the slightest of overcorrections really from Beth Brown after being slightly short on a good track with the previous bowl that time. So back to that centre line.
Edwards electing to stay.
Yeah, doesn't like it.
You saw the head come up, trying to play on the backhand with weight to try and get rid of the shot bowl that we mentioned, Brendan, because obviously worth at least 2. So Beth Brown now will endeavour to just take a wee bit of weight off from her last. Was certainly on the right line to the jack, just a metre of weight. And again, got it out on a good line. It's just going to depend how that weight is. Oh, looks on a good line here. This looks on a good line and comes
fantastic.
Right back to the centre line.
Yeah, she found the line brilliantly with those 3 bowls and knew that she just had to make a slight adjustment with her weight with that final bowl. Did so. So it looks like that was 2 to Beth Brown. So it should be 5-4 now. Joe Edwards leading Beth Brown. Nelson leading Dunedin. Very tight early stages in this first 225 singles contest. In the fours, 3 ends completed now, and it's Dunedin leading Nelson 2-1. And in the pairs, 4 ends of the 18 completed, and it's 10-0. So that's not what we expected, given how well Sarah Scott and Bronwyn Stevens have gone. The fact that the Dunedin pair are 8-0 at these National Intercentre Championships completed, so still 14 remaining in that pairs contest, but so far going Nelson's way. The other two, just a shot between Nelson and Dunedin. We have the men's final also taking place in the singles. It's 8 apiece between Craig Merrilees and Jamie Hill. The pairs 5-4 slender lead for Auckland over Southland, and the fours saw that same score we brought to you previously, 6-5 Southland leading Auckland. So very tight in the men's final so far, and 2 of the 3 women's matches very tight as well. It's just that pairs, which is...
That's a real blowout early on in this game, isn't it? As we see, Joe Edwards draws in behind the head. So here is Beth Brown of Dunedin, who in the semi-final, of course, as we said earlier, defeated Taylor Bruce. Very good victory over Taylor Bruce, but it's going to be a couple of metres short. And as we said this morning, Brenton, about that first bowl effectiveness, and once you sort of tie a hand up with short bowls, just restricts your shot options and just leaves the door open for the opposition. And Joe Edwards, she'll just draw away to heart's content down here, but it's going to be short as well. She'll be disappointed with that. Now, Brown has to change her hand.
Yeah, now that side is almost well and truly blocked up, isn't it?
She's going to endeavour to try and draw down there. Well, it's...
You got to be inch perfect. Yeah.
Very much so, because there's certainly not a lot of room down there.
That is surprising, isn't it?
Very surprising to be coming down through there. And of course the danger is you put weight on and also go wide. And of course this is just going to feather into the Joe Edwards short bowl. In fact, makes it count. And the Brown bowl just careers through the head. So more than likely, not the best shot option there, really, Brenton, to try and get the shot or second shot, or a bowl close, I should say. And leaves the door open very much so now for Joe Edwards, who's holding 2. And this one's only got to stop, and it'll be 3, and it will. It's going to sit by her inside to the 2 metre mark. Now, huge pressure now. Last bowl
looks
here.
Like she's going to persist as well. The backhand, obviously, she's cleared the path somewhat, having knocked away the widest of the bowls, and she can follow the same line as her previous did, and she might be in the area, so she'll back herself here, Beth Brown, to do just that.
The main thing is, Brennan, to make sure that she's up to the head, and she is going to be up to the head, but with too much weight, and it's going to go by. It's a fine line, and I think it was the 3rd bowl that really caused her the heartache, but elected to stay on that backhand side. And now you would assume, if you take the averages, Joe Edwards is more likely looking at a good opportunity to score 4 here and jump out to a 9-4 lead. And as we spoke about this morning, you're also playing the main scoreboard as well. That's the other thing. And from a Dunedin point of view, although it's early stages, you know, all of a sudden you're 9-4 down in the singles. Your peers are down with 11.
It was 10-0.
10-0. So all of a sudden you're in that zone, and this will be. I would say this should
be enough for a count.
Should be enough because it's sitting over the head. Imagine it will be.
Does that make 4 of it? I think they've decided, and I think we're going to see the 4 lollipops go up. They do from Sue Wei. So 4 for Nelson's Joe Edwards, and then 9-4 advantage now to the vastly experienced player out of the Nelson club, and as we all know, arguably our greatest ever female bowler, achieved so much in the sport. Commonwealth Games golds, World Championship golds, and late last year announcing that she retired from international play. 650 matches for New Zealand, most all time. And trying to win a 5th national inter-centre title for Nelson.
So in the men's singles, it's Jamie Hill of Auckland leading Craig Merrill's 9-8, 9-8 in the race to 25. In the pairs, it is Mike Galloway of Auckland leading Sheldon Bagley Howley 8-4, 8-4. And in the fours, I can tell you that it is Shane Elliott skip side who is leading after 5 ends, leading Gary Lawson skip side by 8 shots to 5. At 15 ends, of course, the fours play. Pairs 18 and the singles 25. We see this first bowl of Beth Brown's just fall lower the jack after the Joe Edwards bowl. Hung out on that wide side. Edwards leading 9-4. 9-4 is the lead to Joe Edwards after collecting a 4 on the previous end. There's a better line from Joe Edwards, but just fighting to come back there. I just wonder whether it's going to finish jack level, but was just fighting to get all the way back to the centre line. So Beth Brown will just try and improve on her last, get past her own, holding the shot. We certainly saw this morning some real semi-finals. I think the last few ends, everything just closed up in the women's and the men's semi-finals, and they could have gone either way. As we watch this bowl of Beth Brown's, how far is this going to come back? Breaking all the way back now towards the centre line, and will do so, and that will count as it came back a long way towards the centre line on that backhand side. Edwards will now on her forehand.
Yeah, the host centre, Wellington, losing dramatically in the semi-finals for both men and women. Men losing to Southland, the women losing to Nelson. An extra end in the pairs. It was all locked up.
So Joe Edwards going to feather the bowl, the front bowl, and I would think that would make shot of it. Asking the marker, Sue Way. And we're now seeing a change of hand from Sue Way. Follow the Joe Edwards bowl down on what is her backhand. Trailing Joe Edwards 9-4, and 1 down on the head is the Dunedin player. And now just a matter of how far that'll come back to that centre line, because we saw those first 2 bowls of Joe Edwards just seemed to stay out on there. Certainly had good weight, did Beth Brown. And asking the marker against Joe Edwards. It is 1 to...
Long look at that. Obviously, it's pretty close.
It must be close, because he looked at both sides, went around the head, had a good look at it. Joe Edwards on that forehand. Just seems to have a slightly different draw line down on that forehand side. You see again that bowl just sitting out on that. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 bowls that have been played down there. Of course, it's the backhand for Beth Brown. So obviously just a slightly different line going down that way.
Beth Brown now on that backhand, seeing if she can play a slightly tighter line. It is, but is it too tight? It is going to come under. So it'll be another end for Joe Edwards. Is it just a 1? Certainly looks like it. One taken away. Quick look over the head. Jack picked up. Looks like it was just the one. Confirmed. Yes, just the one. So 10-4 it is now. Nelson's Joe Edwards leading Dunedin's Beth Brown. The first 2:25 singles match. We have the pairs and the fours also taking place in this women's final here at the National Intercentre Championships at the Wilton Bowling Club in Wellington.
Good crowd, Brenton, around the green. All the other sides, of course, who haven't made their way through to the final. You can see on their various provincial tracksuits and their representative colours.
Yeah, it's good so many have stuck around, obviously.
It's great to see so many are sitting here watching and see all the Auckland crew sitting over the far side there in the ditch. And of course, you said the Dunedin men's side, they are all here. So it's great to see them all here supporting their respective finalists. They'd love to be out there, no doubt, but not to be. As we see the Joe Edwards opening bowl leading 10-4 just go by about a half a metre, playing up towards us here in the commentary position. And Beth Brown play on her backhand. Oh, forehand, sorry.
Yeah, the lefty.
And it's on a good line. How far is this coming back towards the centre line? How's the weight on it? It was certainly on the good line, but not going to. In fact, it's about 1.5 metres short. Was certainly on a good line, and this is where that last end coming this way, Brendan, where Beth Brown got herself into trouble by trying to hold on to that hand when with having that short bowl there, just makes it so much difficult.
We'll see if she makes the change this time and plays on her backhand. Plays on the forehand like Edwards is.
Well, Edwards, of course, is saying, right, well, I'm not going to get tangled up in anything. The draw's open to me here, and I'll just fire away. Now, I know there's only 3 bowls gone, but all of a sudden it becomes difficult for Brown to actually draw around those bowls, what is on her forehand, to get the shot.
She's going to persist with that forehand.
Well, likely
now.
Prove me totally wrong, but it's just the challenge is that you just get out a wee bit, and is it going to come back and just going to collect the Joe Edwards bowl? Yes, it will. There's the. And it just makes it so much more difficult to when there's an open hand. And look, the ladies more than likely might favour her forehand. She might see that as her strength, have more confidence there on that draw. But
yeah, saw her playing the backhand in the previous end, and maybe it's just this way. I reckon she's found her line better on this side.
The danger is, of course, that you leave the head open for everything to go bad for you. Now, there's absolutely no way now that you can play that with definitely 1 down, more like 2 down, and to try and get the shot. The danger is, of course, now that she's going to try and play under the head to get to the Joe Edwards bowl to try and make shot of it.
Yeah, looking like she's going to persist.
Very deliberate on the mat is Beth Brown, and playing it with weight to try and get under that.
She knew she was narrow though. You could see with her foot going under to try and...
just misses it, but so she knew she couldn't draw it on that hand, so elected to play with weight. And to be fair, if Joe Edwards doesn't count with this bowl, which I'm law of averages you'd think should go close to the count, we would see Beth Brown persist with playing that shot. So Joe Edwards just waiting for a bowl on the next rink that Kirsten Edwards is just picking up in the fours encounter. So here is Edwards on her forehand, gives that look away. Has become, we know very well with Joe Edwards, she does that after, got a little trait after every bowl, and just going to go by with a wee bit of weight. Won't count. The last thing, if Beth Brown's going to play that shot. The last thing she wants to do is get the jack. Because she'd have to go with it because
it doesn't have anything past the head. So, important bowl in relatively early stages of this singles contest here for Beth Brown.
Looks to have played it with less weight, Brenton, trying to get under it to the bowl. And this is a great attempt from her, but this is a fantastic attempt from Beth Brown.
It's going to get all the way to draw the shot.
That's an amazing bowl.
Wonderfully done.
Came under the head.
Persisted with that forehand side for the lefty. And Jo Edwards just looking over to see if it is indeed the shot.
And conceded.
So, Beth Brown picks up her fifth. 10-5 it is now. Nelson leading Dunedin. Jo Edwards leading Beth Brown. Nelson, though, leading all three contests, and the fours are up 6-2 after 4 of the 15, and in the pairs, in command of Al Smith and Colleen Earl over Sarah Scott and Bronwyn Stevens. 12-1 it is after 6 of the 18 ends in the pairs. And we have the men's final taking place as well. In the singles, it is Jamie Hill who is leading Craig Merrilees 11-10, the first to 25. The pairs is Mike Galloway and Tony Grantham are leading Sheldon Baggery Howley and Elliot Mason 8-5 after 8 of the 18 ends. And we'll bring you up to date with the fours score shortly as well.
8-6 to Southland in the fours.
Brilliant. Thank you. It can be quite hard to see around a few of the bodies, especially in the fours, but you managed to get a sighting of the scoreboard. Thank you, Kevin.
So Beth Brown playing her first bowl here, the jack right down to the 2 metre mark, and is going to come by the jack, sit jack level. It's about 2 feet from the jack. So Jo Edwards persisting down on that forehand side, which we just noticed on that last head, a different line, certainly a different draw line at the end, it's for sure. Jo Edwards don't want to get out too wide. This looks on so you can just see, Brenton, it just doesn't seem to have the same, although it was finishing strongly, just seems to be a slower draw than, doesn't seem to have the same, where there's a bit of breeze down there or what, it seems a bit of a different line.
It does seem to be the most exposed part of the green, just having seen the trees and behind the players at that side of the green, and how sometimes they have stepped off the mat when there's been a bit of a gust. That does seem to be the windiest corner, so it may well be a factor.
So Beth Brown certainly out on that wider side, and we know it will come back in towards the centre line, and it does with a metre and a bit overweight. So Edwards changing hands onto her backhand, trying to get down to it's going to be under the line, that bowl of Jo Edwards is for sure. And she walks, you see her walk away, that's short and under the line. So Beth Brown knows that if she beats her bowl out to the side, that would count. So here's Beth Brown, and got that bowl out on that wider line. It'll come back from there, it's for sure. It'll work its way back towards the centre line, but got too much weight.
Too much weight, just like the previous bowl, and it's going to just come around that previous bowl, so even more weight than that. But they do come back a long way, but just hasn't got the weight right on that side. Great first bowl from Beth Brown to set the tone for the end, but since then hasn't quite found her range. Now looking to do just that is Jo Edwards.
Well, looking at that line, that should come under the centre line, Brendan, because
I don't think it's got the weight, does it?
it's definitely a completely two different lines on either hand. There's no question about it. Although Joe Edwards didn't have the weight, as you rightly said, but you certainly got a wider draw line out on that side of the rink for sure. And Beth Brown just needs to improve upon it. That jack high bowl of hers, and it would count.
You see Mandy Boyd watching on behind the players there. See, now 8-time national champion, 6 times in the fours.
Now you'll see here's this bowler, Beth Brown, just needs to get past his front and it'll count, and it does. Will sit on his shot bowl itself, and that's at least 2. And Joe Edwards certainly hasn't been able to find that line going down towards the northern end. So Edwards, you'll see that good crowd sitting in around the rink. Here's the tall figure of Joe Edwards on the mat, on the forehand, knows that she needs to correct with that line. Has she corrected with the line? Don't think so. That needs to sit inside these bowls. Doesn't need to get those. She gets the hole or get nothing. Sits on top of the bowl. Well played by the queen of the green.
Yeah, Joe Edwards wonderfully done to snatch that away from Beth Brown, who had the better of Joe Edwards of the first few, but Joe Edwards had the final say. Picks up the shot, 11-5. It is now Nelson leading Dunedin, Joe Edwards leading Beth Brown in the singles. In the pairs, it's now 13-1. Val Smith and Colleen Earl of Nelson leading Sarah Scott and Bronwyn Stevens of Dunedin. And fours, I believe, still going the way of Nelson. Just can't see the scoreboard at this moment. There you go. Scoreboard right on screen. 6-2 after 5 of the 15 ends in the fours. So Nelson leading all 3 contests. Pairs convincingly. And the fours and singles and in control, it would be fair to say. It's early stages though. Of course, singles here, first to 25, and still 10 ends to play in the fours alongside.
So seeing the first bowl of Joe Edwards just go by. So Beth Brown trying to get that, and she does. Finishes jack level. Edwards on the backhand. Definitely a shorter length head that we played. You notice the mat is right back on the 2 metre mark. And Joe Edwards on the backhand leading 11-5 in this race to 25. And how far is this going to skip across the line? And really just would have been short of weight as well. Finished on the centre line, but really needed another metre of weight. So now Beth Brown trying to improve on what was her first bowl. And is it just going to career? Needs to get inside this Joe Edwards bowl and will do. And sits just outside the centre line. That's 2 for the Dunedin player.
Good start on this end. And the length dictated by Joe Edwards. The mat all the way back. The jack not too far down. Mid-length end.
And Joe Edwards just going to run into what is her own front bowl. Now for Beth Brown, this is her opportunity to really put the pressure on. Get to at least a 3, needs to come past the front bowls.
It's interesting, we actually haven't had very many full-length ends at all today.
No, there hasn't
Thinking
been.
back to the men's singles semi-final between Craig Merrilees of Southland and Seamus Curtin of Wellington.
This bowler, Browns, is another
short
good
to
bowl
mid.
coming in towards the head. Going to finish Jack level. Whether it counts or not, asking the marker. I can see Sue Way out having a look to see whether it counts or not. It's definitely
Yeah,
two down.
Two down.
Two down was the call from the marker. So Jamie Hill led in 12-10 in the singles, and Mike Galloway led in Sheldon Baggy Harley 10-7. 12-11 in fact the Jamie Hill scorers. As we see, Joe Edwards was not shot at second shot for sure. Holding the shot was the Sue Way, very decisive, saying to Beth Brown, "You've got the shot."
Obviously a vastly experienced international official, Sue Way. It's great to have her as your marker.
Oh, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, making sure you've got great confidence in everything she's saying back to you. Haven't had to see the players making their way to the head to look for themselves. They just ask the questions of the marker, and Sue Way has given them the answers.
And this is going to be under the line.
So it should be 1 to Beth Brown.
And Joey Edwards passes the match straight over to her.
So 11-6 it is now. Nelson's Joe Edwards leading Dunedin's Beth Brown in the singles contest we are bringing to you here in the women's final of the National Inter-Centre Championships at the Wilton Bowling Club in Wellington. The fours going the way of Nelson, 6-2 they are leading, and 13-1 the pairs. So Nelson, a very strong position at this stage, looking to win their 5th National Inter-Centre Championship for women. And Joe Edwards has been part of all 4 of their previous successes, 97, 2004, 2012 and 2014. So it has been some time since their last. Obviously, until last year, Joe Edwards and Val Smith were both based overseas. It's both based in Australia for a few years. So when you take those 2 players out, it's obviously going to make your team not quite as strong. And Amy McElroy's been in and out of bowls as well with family commitments.
Well, those 3 players really are now back in the Nelson side, who weren't in the Nelson side in the last few years. So that does make a difference.
Yeah, Kirsten Edwards took a break for a couple of days, did she, to have the twins
She had
pretty
the
much,
twins.
and then was back on the green. Of course, won the national 4s in Alexandra late last month.
Joe Edwards, you won't like that bowl. That's really short. That first bowl, as we saw Beth Brown's bowl, was, there was a couple of metres short as well. And I can tell you, in the men's 4s, we couldn't give you that result before. And the Southland lead in 9-6, 9-6 after 7 ends. That's the Shane Elliott skip side.
So, it's pretty tight, but Auckland leading 2 of the 3 in the men's final.
So Beth Brown is going to finish literally jack level, but a metre away, was well under the line, and really not find. Well, even Joe Edwards has been struggling the last few ends to find that line, leading 11-6.
Yeah, not what we obviously have come to expect from Joe Edwards. Jimmy Pugh, member of the Nelson men's and the centre side, watching on as well, cheering on the women's team.
Even this bowler, Joe Edwards going past right to the centre line, but a good metre and a half, close to 2 metres in fact.
Yeah, so no problem with the line, but just the weight. Both bowls, Joe Edwards, Just well short. Next too much. So the overcorrection.
Beth Brown needs to adjust and doesn't like that walk straight away from that bowl. You can see that that's going to be a long way under the head. A long, long way under the head.
Oh, she's taken off, Beth Brown. Had enough. No doubt making her way her toilet break or getting some refreshments after playing her third bowl. So might have a brief wait after this bowl here from Jo Edwards. So how has she made a correction here? Is it going to get round that Beth Brown bowl? It does. This time comes just under the line, but it's a pretty handy effort. And you know what? Could be shot, because this has been a bit of a messy end from both players, Beth Brown and Jo Edwards.
Well, you put the clothesline out, really, Brendan, couldn't you?
Oh, Beth Brown's already made her way back, so quick little break.
So, Beth Brown now on the mat, trailing 11 shots to 6 in this race to 25. So here is now Beth Brown, needs to endeavour to get something close to the head. Nothing is at this stage, and I don't think this one's going to either. No, it's not. This is, yeah.
It's an end to forget for both players so far, unless Jo Edwards can salvage something here. This is really testing out the marker. Yeah, so that previous bowl of Jo Edwards is the shot. But things close here. If you can draw within 1.5 meters, you got shot.
Which one would expect Jo Edwards to be able to do. And I can tell you now, in the men's singles, it is Jamie Hill leading 13-11. And this bowler, Jo Edwards, just got to come past this bowl. Is it going to get past, Brent?
It does get past, but...
Does it count?
Is that counting, or is it the bowl which is just jack low out to the left side of the screen? Is that the counter? I think Joe's mentioning, geez, this is not a pretty picture. She made her way down to the head.
Oh, you can see that. Yeah, well, that highlights. Not very impressed with those bowls as the international of so many years. And, well, to be fair, Brendan, there's not really a bowl within 1.5 meters of the jack, is there?
No, not what you expect. Not what we have seen so far in this match as well. It's been quite close, and Beth Brown, I think, has taken her break, I think, for real this time. I think previously she thought that was her last bowl.
I got one more to play.
I've still got one more to play. Better play that. And now taken off for a break between ends, but now they're just waiting for Beth Brown before they decide exactly what the score is here.
Big end right in front of us here in this Piers, Southland v Auckland. Just saw Sheldon Bagley-Howley play a magnificent bowl to turn 2 down into 3 up, put the jack just trail the jack into the ditch. And of course Auckland are leading that game 10 shots to 7, so a big bowl on this, the 11th end from the Southland skip. And out comes the big measure. I presume that's conceded that.
Yeah, certainly one. Just whether it's 2 or not. That's what they're working out.
We'll know in a moment, Brendan, with 1.
Just the 1. Two-way marker puts up the lollipop. It's 1-2 Jo Edwards and Nelson. So
it's a very hardly fought
12-6 it is now. We had to wait to find out what it was, but 12-6. Jo Edwards leading Beth Brown of Dunedin. In the singles, they're up in the pairs 14-1 and also leading in the 4s as well. So in a strong position, Nelson here as they chase their 5th national inter-centre title. And Jo Edwards tries to claim her 5th personally.
26 centres, Brenton, started around the greens of Wellington on Thursday. Of course, some started Thursday and some started Friday, depending on the numbers in your section. And playing, depending on the numbers, either playing 6 rounds or 5 rounds of section play, with the first winner and runner-up making their way through into the quarterfinals, of course, which was played yesterday here for the men, and at Silverstream for the ladies, and then this morning they're all converging back here at Wilton with the semi-finals and finals. So it's a big event. There's 26 sides, men and women, 7 players in each side, so it's a pretty big logistical exercise, and we have been fortunate that they've had no weather adversity, so that hasn't been an issue, being able to get through without any problems at all, and that makes it, of course, better for the organisers, the markers, the caterers, everybody involved. So we now come down to the back end of this very important event, which of course we couldn't hold last year due to the COVID situation, but we're back on the greens this year, and pleasing to hear that it looks like, Brendan, or hopefully that we'll be making a journey across the Tasman later on this year for the Trans-Tasman, as we see Joe Edwards draw a toucher.
Well, you will be. I'll be getting married instead. So.
Well, here comes the bride.
Yeah, well, exactly right. Unless we can work out that the Trans-Tasman can be done in Wellington.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can sort that, can't you?
That's what we can do.
Yeah.
But of course, before that as well, we've got a number of events here in New Zealand to cover, and we've got the National Interclub Finals, of course, yet to come.
All the Champion of Champions events.
Champions, and then of course the
North
big event
South.
in September.
Yeah.
And Peter Ballas, who was with me yesterday, was saying,
is he willing to give his name to the trophy?
Well,
that's not what you're talking
about.
about.
The teams to be announced. So watch Brown not quite get to the jack. So I believe the selectors have got a meeting either today, tomorrow, I'm not sure. But the sides for the North-South encounter are to be named sooner than later. So we will have those sides named to play in that new format in Dunedin.
Right, a cup-style tournament. Looking forward to that. North Island against South Island.
Here's Joe Edwards now. This is more of what we know of Edwards, and Beth Brown needs to reach up through the head to get to the jack to try and get a touch on it. 2 down on the head, trailing 12-6. Pairs are behind for Dunedin as other 4s, so all these things, they play in your mind as well.
Oh, the pairs is almost, you'd call it 17-1 it is now, after 9 of the 18 ends, only halfway through, but
it's
17-1. That's a big surprise too, because I was pointing out to you how
it's going to hold up long enough. Look at this bowl. And
held
on, it's rolled over, got the shot, played under the head, did Beth Brown, and asking the question as Joe Edwards, definitely 1 down was the very quick response from Sue Way.
And also asked if she had 2 seconds, and was given the affirmative as well, so she can get rid of that shot bowl or improve on it. Maybe just knock it a few rolls out of the head, which is what she's trying to do, I think. Hunting for the shot bowl.
On the charge of the shot bowl, and got the jack, and it will stay alive. Still down.
Well, that's not what she was trying to do.
That was not what she was after. It got the slice of hell, and the jack, we should be able to see in a moment, the marker, Sue Way. Depends which angle it is, but it looks like 2 shots at this point to the Dunedin player. So can we see where that jack is, Brent? Oh, yeah, there's the marker there.
It's just to the right of the number 1 marker for the rink marker there. It's a little red little ball on top of a white base. That's where the jack is. So the deepest 2 bowls already, and just tries to really
draw past a blue bowl. That's all she's got to do.
It just has to draw within probably 3 metres.
Plenty of room.
So unfortunate for Joe Edwards. Going for a big play has not worked for it. Is Beth Brown going to get past? Yes, she threaded the needle there. That was very well executed. In fact, she got pretty close. So now, is it 3 or is it just 2 on the angle where we see the little red dot? Maybe it's just 2.
Maybe 2 when you look at that angle. What's Joe Edwards conceding?
Yeah, 3. So big end for Beth Brown. Mistake by Joe Edwards, and this is tightened right up now. 12-9. It is still Joe Edwards in the lead, but just 3 shots between them. Nelson's Joe Edwards leading Dunedin's Beth Brown 12-9.
So in the men's, I can tell you it is 9-7 to Southland. That is the Shane Elliott skip side up against Gary Lawson. 9-7, Shane Elliott leading. The pairs now, it is 10-all. 10-all, that's the game between Mike Galloway playing Sheldon Bagley-Howley, and in the singles, the game between Craig Merrilees and Jamie Hill. I think it's 30.
Merrilees 14-13 lead over Jamie Hill in the singles.
So
very tight across the board.
Very tight
really.
all around here, it's for sure. And I can see, looking down, that Mike Galloway on the drive is down on the head again here.
So completely opposite situation to what's unfolding in the women's final, which we're bringing to you, where Nelson are in control of all 3 boards and completely in control of the pairs. 17-1, 9-2 they lead after 7 of 15 ends of the 4s, and up 3 here in the singles, Joe Edwards and Beth Brown.
The response here from Joe Edwards, very sound response, just in behind the jack, coming back towards the centre line.
This is more what we expect playing this way, isn't it, after very wayward Ian last time playing in this direction.
Was. So here's Brown, Beth Brown, the Dunedin singles player, who this morning, of course, defeated Taylor Bruce quite convincingly, 25-12, was it?
25-16.
25-16. That's a good win.
Of course, Craig Merrilees looking to complete his run, knock off 3 blackjacks in a row. Andrew Kelly, Seamus Curtin, and now trying to get the better of Jamie Hill. Of course, Jamie Hill having stood down for the moment from international duties for family commitments, but blackjack recent times. Andrew Kelly very much part of the squad, and then Seamus Curtin is representing New Zealand at the World Cup indoor singles as well.
So here, Deb Brown holding the shot. The second bowler, Joe Edwards, is coming short, well under the head. So Brown able to reach down, draw down to where that Joe Edwards bowl is behind the head, sits on that, would certainly count. Got the bowl out on that wider side. We know it'll come back, but will it come back far enough? It's breaking back now, but will break outside the bowl of Joe Edwards. And then asking the question is Joe Edwards of their marker Sue Way, and indicating that it is 1 down. So Edwards now on the draw, on the backhand. How's this bowl? This is looking pretty, just going to sit on the bowl, is it? No, just goes by.
But again, a far better collection of bowls than what we had last time playing this direction. More of what we've come to expect from these two. Joe Edwards, we know all about her calibre, but Beth Brown as well has been up to the task. Still very much in this fight.
I've seen a big change, Brendan, in that Auckland Southland singles game.
Yeah, well, extending his lead, Merrilees. I think he was up by 1 previously, so I think he's just scored a 3, so 17-13. Craig Merrilees now leading Jamie Hill in the first to 25.
So all of a sudden, things are starting to move around on the board.
Southland's now up in all three.
And Deb Brown draws right on top. Still just the one is the indication from the marker Sue Wei.
So 17-13 in the singles, 12-10 in the pairs, and 9-7 in the fours. Southland leading Auckland in the men's final. Slender leads in comparison to those in the women's final for Nelson, but in a strong position, Southland, as they look to their maiden national inter-centre title.
Joe Edwards is going to be under the head here. Oh, well short. She wouldn't like that. Wouldn't be happy
He already
with that.
kicks those away. As they're not going to be in the count.
Just the one.
Yeah, it looks like just the one. A good end for Beth Brown.
12-10.
Two-shot game now. This singles match. Pairs and fours alongside in this women's final here at the National Inter-Centre Championships at the Wilton Bowling Club in Wellington. We're on the bottom green for those who know Wilton Bowling Club, the Otari green, a sheltered green. There has been a bit of wind coming and going, but it has not been a major factor. And the temperature has risen as the days gone on. Relatively comfortable for most of the players, donning singlets, or not singlets, t-shirts now.
It's a very short end. They're playing here. Brendan. The match back on the 2 metre mark. As we watch this bowler, Beth Brown is going to come in behind the jack. It's a metre. It came back to the centre line.
It's been pretty popular length though.
It has been pretty consistent.
Yeah, if they had the jack back, they usually have it relatively short. If the jack's been brought up, then it's a bit further back. But this has been pretty consistent from both players.
Val Smith, they must like the 2 metre mark at the Nelson best. Out in front of us here, the jack sitting right on the 2 metre mark. Here's Joe Edwards' bowl now, going to sit right in behind the jack, right on the centre line.
Yeah, well, what we expect of Joe Edwards, brilliant. First up bowl. I think it was actually Bronwyn Stevens who put the jack there, because they have actually picked up their second shot, so 17-2 now. Val Smith and Colleen Earl leading Sarah Scott and Bronwyn Stevens.
Here's the bowl of Beth Brown, which is going to finish jack level, but certainly under the line for sure. And Mike Galloway on the drive again, and the pairs, obviously Southland holding there. Things are turned around in that encounter for sure. 9-all now in the men's fours, Brendan. 9-all after 9 of 15 ends.
So it's Southland leading pairs and singles. It's all level in the fours now in the men's final. The women's final, Nelson leading all 3 disciplines. The tightest of the lot, though, is here in the singles. Joe Edwards leading Beth Brown by just 2 shots. Beth Brown looking to try and beat Joe Edwards' first up effort on this end. It's not a bad attempt by Beth Brown. Going to come up just short by a couple of feet. Right back to that centre line, though. Edwards. On the backhand, well, turns her back on this one. It's not a good sign. And it's going to come under the centre line, well short. It's certainly not as bad a bowl as she made it look when she turned her back on it, but
no,
not up to her standards.
I think Joe would be disappointed to date that really hasn't been able to find consistency in the line. Well, neither player really has, like we saw this morning. You know, Joe's been struggling or battling to get to that centre line. As we watch now, Beth Brown trailing 12-10, trying to get to the shot bowl of Joe Edwards, but it gets under the line.
Yeah, had the right weight that time, it just slightly narrow.
So here now, Joe Edwards endeavouring to add another. Holding one, leading 12-10, and this is on a better line, this bowl, Brenton, as it comes in towards the head now. This is certainly going to be two, that's for sure. It will be.
Good bounce back from Joe Edwards after dropping 4 shots on the last 2 ends combined, so puts herself 4 up now, 14-10. Nelson's Joe Edwards leading Dunedin's Beth Brown in the singles match.
Oh, you'd see there, Brendan, with that bowl of Joe Edwards is immediately she got that line, the bowl then will come back to that centre line. Just been struggling, and we know, we've seen internationally, we've seen the consistency of Joe Edwards. We know what she's more than capable of, and now again going with that shorter length again. Obviously that's the length that both players feel comfortable with.
I think Dunedin might have scored a couple on the last end in the 4s, so that might have tightened up somewhat. It might be 9-4 now. Nelson leading in the 4s. Pairs still 17-2. Dunedin down against the Nelson combination of Val Smith and Colleen Earl, leading Sarah Scott and Bronwyn Stevens 19-2. 10 of the 18 ends completed.
So of course Southland going for history, endeavouring to win the men's into centre, and let's see another 1 to Craig Merrilies in the Jamie Hill game. Takes him to 18-14. Southland yet to win a men's into centre title.
It'll be quite a trifecta as well if he takes that Andrew Kelly, Seamus Curtin and then Jamie Hill.
Certainly, he played very, very well this morning. Really, Seamus Curtin was under pressure really right throughout the whole game. Couldn't build heads, and as you and I spoke about, Brendan, just kept singles was the name of the game really as far as Seamus Curtin was concerned. As we see this bowler Joe Evans just slip by. Beth Brown holding the 1 on that jack level position to the head.
Of course, these two sides actually were in the same section, Auckland and Southland, so they were in section 4. Auckland winning 2-1 at 9i. That was in round 3 of section 4. Singles actually went Southland's way, 25-15, but the pairs won 20-13 by Auckland and 12-9 the 4s going Auckland's way.
So what this bowler, Beth Brown's just slipped by the head.
So they'll be familiar with each other. The men's finalists met in section play. In contrast, Nelson were runners up in section 2. Dunedin winning section 1. Section 2 featured Canterbury, which Dunedin dismissed in the semi-final earlier today.
So Joe Edwards now coming back to the hand, and I think this is the best hand for her, and certainly is, draws a touch. She'd be certainly struggling going on the other hand, Brendan, to get that finish of the bowl, and you saw there that last bowler, Joe, would just get that lovely arc in it and draws right down cleanly to the jack and sit right on top of it and make shot of it, leading 14-10 in the race to 21 in this final of the Bowls New Zealand National Women's Inter Centre. There's Beth Brown endeavouring to outdraw now that Joe Edwards bowl. And that's going to be under the head. Will be second shot, but certainly won't beat the bowl of Edwards. Not far away though. It was only, let's see, a bowl away. Joe Edwards now will stay on there. On her backhand side. Holding the shot, 14-10, And this two's on a good line. This bowler, Joe Edwards, how's the weight as it comes down? You can see that natural arc of the bowls that made its way down. Just going to fall lower the jack. But she'll be quite happy. There's more bowls around the head. Coming to have a look at the head is...
Yeah, rear visit. Oh, I'm just making her way halfway down just to get a clearer picture in her mind. Very few visits to the head from either player, which is great to see. Just trusting the marker, experienced marker, and Sue Wei.
First time, I think, isn't it? We've seen that.
I think so.
In this women's singles encounter, Joe Edwards.
And that was not even really a visit, was it?
No, just sort of halfway up to look at the weather, and back. Beth Brown went to her. To the mat, one down on the head, with Edwards leading 14-10 in the race to 25.
So the men's matches are slightly further advanced. They did get underway a good 10-15 minutes before the women did in their final. So we may have an outcome in the men before we have our women's decided here. So Joe Edwards will keep hold of the mat. Looks like it's just one.
Just the one.
Yeah, confirmed. So 15-10 now. Nelson's Joe Edwards leading Dunedin's Beth Brown in the singles.
Well, I can tell you now in the men's singles, it's another 2 to Craig Merrilies, taking him to 20. And looking down in front of us here, it's all Southland starting to dominate the pairs, holding 3 to 4 shots on the head in front of us here as they play in 13.
Yeah, so Craig Merrilies leading Jamie Hill of Auckland 20-14 in the singles, 12-10 the pairs, Southland leading. And it's all locked up 9 apiece in the fours, although Gary Lawson may have just changed that situation as he played the drive to knock out, I think, a shot bowl or two. And can also let you know that in the pairs, continue to go Nelson's way. 19-2 it is. 19-2 after, I think it's 11 of the 18 ends in the pairs, so they may be shaking hands early, and the first point on the board,
I think so,
very much looks like it's going to go Nelson's way in this women's final. It's 9-4 Nelson leading in the fours, and of course here in the singles 15-10 advantage for Nelson.
Good opening bowl from Joe Edwards and a good reply from Beth Brown, just sort of slipped by this very strong Nelson women's side. When you look at what these players have collectively got on their CVs, they're certainly up there with the astonishing records, all of them. You know, they've got, because you've got to remember, Amy McElroy, part of this Nelson side, was a bronze medalist the 2014 games in Glasgow, has won New Zealand titles. And Kirsten Edwards, well, she needs absolutely no introduction at all. So
yeah, very strong.
Very good side.
Yeah, you just look at the, Joe Edwards in the singles, Val Smith in the pairs, Kirsten Edwards in the fours, and then when you had an Amy McElroy and Gemma Watt as well.
Another very well performed player. And then
very deep, strong squad.
Oh, absolutely. And you see Edwards holding the shot as that bowler, Beth Brown's, just went by the head. Joe Edwards now wanting to really put the pressure on at 15-10. And going to sit on this bowl, sits underneath it, will make a shot. Does it? No, it won't. So Beth Brown down on the head.
turns it back immediately on that one.
Run away with that one. That was a...
Yeah, does not want to see where this one ends up.
Does not.
Take it off.
She's disappeared. She's on the boundary fence.
It's not that bad. She obviously knew it was under the line and wasn't going to get the desired result. But that was quite funny, wasn't it?
She knew full well that. And I can tell you right now, it's starting to get danger time for Auckland in the men's final, because we just saw in the pairs Southland score again. Sheldon Bagley Howley, and they're now leading 15-10, 15-10. And of course, we know that Craig Merrilies is in front by 20-15, I think it is. So
2014.
2014, and so all of a sudden a change, and Joe Edwards.
Auckland do lead the fours though. It's picked up a 3, so fours now going Auckland's way. 12-9, 10. I think 10 of the 15 ends completed, so they are leading one of the 3. Southland though with a bit of an advantage now in the pairs and the singles.
Looks like another, at least one, maybe 2 to Joe Edwards, is it? It is 2.
Yeah, 2. So Joe Edwards now building a handy buffer, 17-10. She's now a couple of big ends away from getting a point on the board for Nelson.
Well, this is starting to get very difficult for Dunedin, isn't it, Brenton? We know the pairs is literally, I'm not going to say it's gone, but you know it's as good as gone. I would say that's going to go Nelson's way, and 17-10 now to Joe Edwards, and the fours it is 9-5.
Yeah, 17-10 if it was just any player would be difficult to come back, but when you're coming up against the multiple World and Commonwealth Games champion, New Zealand's most capped player.
And here's a good opening bowl from Edwards on this end, leading 17-10, and is given away, playing that hand down towards the northern end here. The sun now coming out here at Wilton. And they've certainly Howard Ivory.
It's just taken till almost 2:30 for the sun to come out in Wellington.
Howard Ivory.
About half an hour earlier than usual.
The Greens here done a wonderful job. Here's the Wilton Club. They've got the greens, the surrounds, everything. The place looks it looks a picture. Lovely surroundings. As Brendan said, we're in a naturally like a reserve sitting here, and Wilton have done it proud on this in the centre event. Just a shame for Wilton. They'd hope to be one of the Wellington teams, of course, into the finals this afternoon. And
both were pipped in their semi-finals.
And now the pressure coming on from Joe Edwards. This will be 2. This is going to draw literally just outside the centre line. Jack Level, 2 shots, leading 17-10.
Both Wellington teams may actually find themselves losing to the eventual champions, because Nelson obviously in control. That's who beat them, and Southland beat them in the men, and they're currently leading 2 of the 3 matches as well. I think there's another shot being picked up by Merrilies, so he is another step closer.
So Beth Brown, 2 down on the head, endeavouring to try and draw the shot, trying very hard here, needs to get under this bowler. Joe Edwards does so, and will draw shots, sits right alongside the jack. Well played by the Dunedin singles player. Joe Edwards asking the market, knowing she's 1 down, and it will follow that line, I would say. Edwards will play down there as well, trying to reach to that, what is the shot bowl of Beth Brown's. So, and here's Joe Edwards coming up to have a look. We haven't seen this as well very often. Needs to get past this front bowl of Brown's. Not going to. In fact, is going to roll it into the head. Won't count, I wouldn't think.
I think that may actually count. He's not very happy with that. Just 1, signalled by a marker to Beth Brown that she's holding. Sue Way also given an indication exactly how far shot bowl is away from the jack. Still getting some information. Beth Brown. A long look at her header, asking a bit more from Sue Wei.
Well, she's only got the draw shot down there, really. Brenton, there's not many other options.
Yeah, taking her time here.
Certainly is.
This is the longest we've seen Beth Brown take on the match. It's got a very deliberate process, but gets to it pretty quickly most of the time. This time has really weighed up her options in her head, got some information from the marker, and is now ready to go. Playing on her backhand.
I'm sure we'll see Edwards trying to turn her bowl over here, or turn out the Edwards bowl. I'm pretty sure we'll see Joe Edwards. She'll have a good look. I think she'll be looking for the jack down through there. The way how those bowls are lined up, jack and bowl would go pretty much together down towards the ditch. I'm sure Edwards will be playing with reaching weight. Of course, she plays with weight. Even if she runs into that front bowl of Beth Brown's, it'll run by, won't count. It depends what weight that Joe Edwards elects to play. As you can see the crowd around the
Bay
greens.
of Plenty team there. Very familiar colours to Dunedin. Bay of Plenty team watching on. It's good to see so many of those who didn't make it either to post section or got eliminated yesterday or even this morning, sticking around and cheering on their competitors.
Someone moved. Joe Edwards was about to play. Someone just moved him behind here. See what weight selects to play, reaching through on the backhand. Is Edwards. It's going to be out on that wider side. How fast is it going to come back? Needs to get her own bowl. Not going to. Doesn't like that at all. I'm surprised that Joe Edwards elected to play that shot. I'm sure that she would give it a reach with weight down through there. Beth Brown coming down to have a look. Well,
I think this has got a bit more to do with the fact that obviously and the peers, they're well down, so she knows she has to win this.
Absolutely has to win.
And so taking a bit more time now.
Well,
every shot, every bowl so important.
Looking to see whether she can make three of it, I think, really, because turn the bowl through, get the jack.
Peers now 21-2.
Well, that's
Val Smith,
that's over.
Colleen Earl leading Sarah Scott and Bronwyn Stevens. Very strong position. The Nelson combination, and we've played 12 of the 18 ends.
So we'll see what Beth Brown is going to elect to endeavour to play. Definitely holding one, trailing 17-10, and as Brenton said, the game is gone for the Peers.
Because interestingly, the fours are tightened right up. It's now 10 ends completed, 9-8. It was 9-2, so now 9-8. Nelson still leading, but only by a shot now. So that's probably another thing that maybe has given Beth Brown a bit of belief. Oh, we've got a chance in the fours
draws
here.
Around here. Look at this. She draws around the
bowl. Oh, look
at
that. So 2 taken away. Is it just the 2? Quick look at the head. Maybe do a measure, or is they going to tell by the... I think we may get the measure out. I think Beth Brown is asking Sue Wei for a measure, and Joe goes, oh, look, I'll do it.
Tell you now, in the men's Peers, 14 ends gone. Southland now leading 16-10. That is Sheldon Bagley Harley and Elliot Mason up against Tony Grantham and Mike Galloway, 16-10. And in the singles, it is Craig Merrilies who is leading Jamie Hill by 21-16. 21-16. So
there's two's just been confirmed for Beth Brown. So 17-12 it is now in our feature game, the singles of the Women's National Inter-Centre Final. Jo Edwards leading Beth Brown. Nelson over Dunedin. But here's the fours have tightened right up. The singles could be very, very important. Could well be the deciding contest, because it appears Gail Nelson, fours, just one shot in between the two sides. Jo Edwards has just made her way off the green for a nature break.
I saw Sarah Scott there drive the jack into the ditch, which I think was 1 to Dunedin. And I don't think Jo Edwards, Val Smith's going to be too concerned about dropping a 1.
No, as long as they don't drop sixes, they won't mind.
They aren't going to mind.
Pretty much
at all.
everything else is fine given the advantage they built, so they'll make it 21-3. And I believe there's only 5 ends remaining. So, as unfortunately Bronwyn Stevens just gave away the jack in that pairs contest.
So umpire been called now in the singles to measure the length of the jack. Saw Sue weigh the marker, put her arm up, calling the...
And the umpire's quick straight away to the job. See if it's the regulation length. Or whether Beth Brown will be giving away the jack in the mat to Jo Edwards.
And the tape is out. Doesn't look like it's up.
Yeah, it's up by, it looked like almost a metre up, so it's probably the shortest length we've seen. As the mat's not all the way back, as the majority of the way back.
Jamie Hill trying to hang on in the singles match, but I think he's dropped another shot on this end to Craig Merrilies. We'll see in but a moment.
There's been 11 ends completed in the fours, which are in front of us.
Good bowl from Beth Brown, sitting right in front of the jack.
So that's Auckland leading 12-11 after 11 of the 15 ends in the fours match. And the pairs, as Kevin mentioned moments ago, 16-10 to Southland, and Craig Merrilies of Southland up 21-16 in the singles, and potentially adding to that right in front of us. So Southland, a very strong position.
Merrilies has added to it.
So he's now within touching distance of giving Southland first point of the men's final at these National Inter-Centre Championships here at the Wilton Bowling Club in Wellington. Sun coming out in recent times, very pleasant conditions, the odd gust of wind coming across the green, but nothing that's going to be upsetting the players or making it difficult out on the green.
So Beth Brown holding the shot. The bowl right in front of the jack, trailing Jo Edwards by 17 shots to 12. 17-12. Beth Brown v Jo Edwards. And what is this all-important singles match for sure now. And Jo Edwards just runs into the Beth Brown bowl, turned it over once, just pushed it slightly closer to the jack, and will remain one shot to Dunedin.
It's Craig Merrilies 22-16 leading Jamie Hill now, so 3 away. is the Southlander, getting his centre on the board first in the men's final.
So Beth Brown trying to add to her count, holding one, needs to get past the Joe Edwards bowl, not going to, slips along the side of it, falls in though, no, it won't make another shot. Asking the marker is Joe Edwards what the story is, whether
it's obviously, given our camera's so far away, yeah, measure for second shot is obviously can be very misleading when the camera's that far away. You can't, the ones that are jack level and wide often are closer than the ones straight in line.
So here is now Joe Edwards, definitely one down on the head, not sure about the second. As you watch this bowl of Edwards come towards the centre line and just going to go by, goes by a metre. When we look on the here, on the we can actually see the head out to the right hand side here. So can now Beth Brown add to the head? Definitely holding the one. Is it going to get all the way? Does it get past the Joe Edwards bowl? Is it going to? Yes, it does. It gets applause from Joe Edwards. You can see that is 2. Joe Edwards looking to see, in fact, if it is 3. And I can tell you, Brent, I just heard through the to Tony Grantham saying to Mike Galloway that we're holding 2 in a measure, and Sheldon Bagley Harley has got no further bowls left, so the 3 or a 4 here for Auckland could certainly bring them back into this Peers match.
It certainly will. So very
just saw the Galloway
interesting
bowl
going on in the men's
disappear.
final, as we have in the women's final as well, because Beth Brown potentially holds 3 here. So Joe Edwards playing with weight. She pops out one of them. So we'll see confirmation whether it is just the 1 or 2, but certainly it's going to be another end for Beth Brown.
Well, on the way how Joe Edwards picked that up, that's indicating that it was 2, Brenton. See what the marker.
It's just the 1. So 17-13 now. Nelson leading Dunedin. Joe Edwards over Beth Brown. First 225 in the singles. See if I can catch a scoreboard shortly in the 4s. Yeah, still 9-8. Nelson leading. They're coming to the end of the 11th end, so we'll have an update from that one shortly. And in the pairs, Nelson 21-3 up. Just coming to the end of the 14th end, so that board will be updated shortly as well. Nelson looking for their 5th national intercentre title. First came in 1997, 7 years later in 2004. Another 8 years to wait for the 3rd. 2014 their 4th, and now looking to make 2021 their 5th. Whereas Dunedin looking for their 1st as Dunedin. They did win in 1985 as Otago. And
So
likewise in the men's, Southland looking for their maiden title and looking in a good position to do so right
16-12 now in that Peers, Brendan, after 15. It was obviously Auckland picked up a couple on that last end, so 16-12 now after 15. That's the Sheldon Bagley Harley side leading the Auckland Mike Galloway skip side. So 17-13 now in this race to 25 in the women's singles, and as Brendan said, the 4s has also tightened up considerably.
It looks like it may be that Nelson are first to double figures, so they might have just picked up a couple in the fours they have. So 11-8, they've just opened up a 3-shot advantage, have the Nelson 4, 11-8 leading Dunedin. So they remain up in all 3, but that is the closest of the contests. And you might have heard the big applause, and that came from the Southern contingent. Craig Merrilies celebrating with Sheldon Baggery-Howley. So I think Merrilies may be holding match here potentially.
I can see 3 bowls there that looks 3 in a line there. And he obviously moved the jack as well. And that bowler, Jamie Hills, I can tell you that's under the line. That's going nowhere, that bowl. You know, I can see where the jack is. Certainly is. 3 shots to Southland, one would think. It is shake hands time. That's the first point to Southland, with Craig Merrilies defeating Jamie Hill.
25-16, Craig Merrilies takes it, so mildly impressive. Beat Andrew Kelly in the quarterfinal yesterday, blackjack. Beat Seamus Curtin in the semi-final this morning, blackjack, and Jamie Hill, former blackjack. What a trifecta that is from Craig Merrilies.
It's the second time he's beaten Jamie Hill in this event, isn't it? Because they 25-15.
Assuming they both played in the singles
so
and
that
section
was
play.
the same
It's pretty much
format.
the same score.
Pretty much the same score, absolutely. Joe Edwards holding the shot here and leading by 17-13 as we start to crank down the ends. So Southland have got one in the bag. I see them on the drive here in the piers as well. But so all the work to do here for Dunedin now in this women's final, trailing in the singles 17-13. Also trailing in the piers, with Nelson having a commanding lead at 21 shots to 4 after 14 ends. And this bowl of Beth Brown's, it's going to be narrow and well under the head. Joe Edwards holding one. Can she make this now? Take her to 20.
I think the best she can hope for is maybe to pick up a couple here and go to 19. She can draw either for second or draw the shot dead. Going to come around that Beth Brown bowl.
Needs to be outside it.
Inside it. In fact, might even push it into the head. Don't think that has changed the situation. Should be one to Joe Edwards. Yes, indeed it is. So 18-13 it is now. Joe Edwards of Nelson leading Beth Brown of Dunedin in this singles contest. Nelson leading all 3 disciplines in this women's final. And the men's final, the first going the way of Southland as they chase their maiden national inter-centre title. 25-16, Craig Merrilies in the better of Jamie Hill.
And I can tell you in the fours now, it is all locked up at 12 apiece in the men's fours. So Jack's been delivered. Right down at interesting now, Brenton. We've now seen Joe Edwards, Jack's right down literally to the 2 metre mark. And as she leads by 18 shots to 13, it's going to go under the centre line.
Well, she thought she might as well change things up because it hasn't been quite her usual self. Well, she is certainly in a good position on the scoreboard. Not quite her usual consistency seen from Joe Edwards today.
And Beth Brown having to get used to playing this length. And
it comes out well short with the first.
Well, I can't remember a time where they've had the jack back at this length, really, Brendan. So
don't think they have at all.
No, so that's that line weight adjustment, etc.
Matt is pretty much all the way back, so we're pretty much going ditch to ditch. And those gusts coming across the green, and probably the most blustery part of the green where they're playing as well. I think number 1. It does come through.
You can see there the bowler Joe Edwards is going to come about at least 10 feet short. And as we said, the jack right back to the 2 metre mark. So Beth Brown on knows that she got it, score, and this line here looks to be going pretty quick on the way through, and will be.
And the ditch it goes, collected by the Marcus Huwei, so it's not going to count if there's any movement of the jack at all.
So Joe Edwards now daring to add to the count. And this will count as well. It's 2.
Still plenty of room here for Beth Brown.
So Brown on the mat, trailing 18-13. And 2 down on the head.
Certainly is taking a bit more time in recent ends.
Certainly got out on a wider line. How far is he going to come back with that weight? This is a good attempt here from Beth Brown as it comes back
ball
to the centre line, right to the centre line. And it's a good attempt. Asking the marker is Joe Edwards of what if the bowl just falls in. There's the Beth Brown bowl. And
may actually be shot.
It might be closer than one thinks, actually. And it is 1 shot to Joe Edwards.
So just obviously pretty close to Way. The marker taking a good long hard look at that one.
Someone moved over there. Joe Edwards about to deliver her bowl.
There's of course the 4s just alongside as well, and a bit of movement and behind the rink as well with a few fans. So Jo is known to have her spot when there's some movement on the back of the rink. It affects her, so she stops.
It's very particular about that is Joe Edwards, and this is bowl. This looks like a pretty good bowl. This needs to sit on the blue bowler. Browns, will it? How far does it roll past? Falls in. Not on the centre line. Not sure.
Enough a second, I don't think. Favour the Beth Brown bowl, which is on that centre line.
And I see Dunedin just scored in the 4s. Brenton next door. So that's really tied up, isn't it? That 4s.
It's been pretty tight. Nelson got up to an early lead, but Dunedin clawed their way back. So 11-10 it is. Nelson leading Dunedin in the 4s. So if Dunedin can grab the result there,
bowl, she'll have shot, and she will. And finishes right on the centre line. One would think that's the shot, Brendan.
And certainly if it doesn't fall out, even if it does, it might be enough for shot. I might measure for it. You favour that one just from our angle because it's on that centre line, obviously. Yeah, and they look relatively level, don't they?
Yeah, I just favour it because, as you rightly say, it is on the centre line.
Direct path to the jack.
And it is.
So, one more to Beth Brown. 18-14 it is now. Dunedin's Beth Brown, 4 behind Nelson's Joe Edwards in the singles match. We have the 4s alongside, with just a 1 shot separating the two, 11-10. Nelson leading Dunedin. And the pairs, Nelson in control, 21-5, 3 ends remaining. Val Smith and Colleen Earl leading Sarah Scott and Bronwyn Stevens.
And in the men's final, I can tell you that Southland have got their first victory bank. Craig Merrill's defeating Jamie Hill by 25-16. In the pairs, right in front of us, there is 15 ends playing the 16th end now, and it is 16-12 to Southland. 16-12 to Southland as they play the 16th. And in the 4s, that's Gary Lawson up against Shane Elliott. It's all locked up at 12 all. So Southland with the edge, and we're having 1 win in the bank and a lead in the pairs. And in fact, holding the shot down in front of us right now is Southland, holding at least a couple on this, the 16th end. And Joe Edwards leading 18-14 in this race to 25, and a good opening bowl here from Edwards. How far is it going to run though? Comes to the centre line and will sit right on the centre line. That's certainly the shot. So Beth Brown now knowing that Joe Edwards is getting closer to 25.
Celebration right in front of us. Sheldon Bagri Howley, Elliot Mason, because Bagri Howley just came up with a big shot in his peers contest against Auckland.
And so did Beth Brown, just sat on top of the Joe Edwards bowl to draw the shot. And sits just in on the centre line. And a Joe Edwards bowl here, breaking down towards the head, looks to be slightly under that line and will be, and run by, so it is. Beth Brown holding the shot.
Yeah, the weight was good from Edwards. That line was a touch narrow.
Edwards now, so Brown trying to add to the count. Holding 1, trailing 18-14.
4s in front of us. Auckland leading Southland 14-12, but could be academic because Southland leading in the pairs, having already won the singles.
And they're holding 3 shots down in front of us now. We just saw.
Yeah, only 2 ends. Only 2 ends to play after.
And another good
one.
bowl from Beth Brown, sits in behind, because it was Auckland holding the shot before Sheldon Baggy Harley dislodged that bowl of Mike Galloway's, which was the shot. Now 3 down. In fact, it's worse than that for Auckland. In fact, Brenton, it's 5 down. So all I can see Southland bowls there. I can see 2 of Sheldon Baggy Howley's bowls, and I can see 3 of Elliot Mason's, and the Tony Grantham bowls of Mike Galloway's are scattered all around the head.
You can understand the celebrations, can't you, then, because from being 1 down to being 5 up.
It's a big change. Joe Edwards just going to skip by just slightly under the line. So
familiar tale with Joe Edwards, just not her usual self. Obviously has such high expectations.
So Beth Brown definitely holding, and Galloway driving the jack in this pairs game down here in front of us, because this is game set and match time really, Brenton.
No, they lead by 4, 2 ends to play after this. They pick up a 5, go up by 9, 2 ends to play. That is all but, isn't it?
So interesting, Beth Brown changing her hand, trying to match these bowls of Joe Edwards out to the side, and Joe Edwards having a look over the top, and whether she's going to play with some sort of weight to try and dislodge those bowls, or if Edwards, of course, can move the jack, Brendan, around on that hand, Jo can make 4 of this, and yes, we'll see that Peers game. It's all the head finished there. We'll see that go up in a moment, but it looked a big number to Southland, and that could well be the key end or the key bowl played by Sheldon Bagley-Howley when one down and converted it into a number.
I think it was a 3 by the looks of it. So 19-12. They're now leading in that men's Peers contest.
2 to go.
Bagley-Howley and Mason against Galloway and Grantham. So Southland up by 7, 2 ends to play.
Yeah, Joe Edwards on the drive, got the jack into the ditch. Now we'll see what the story is with the. It's the touch of that bowler, Joe Edwards, is that the jack before the bowls.
I think that's just in as well. That
it looks
just
in from where looking on the monitor.
Slightly distorted the length, obviously we're coming in from the side, but looks like it's just in. 3, I think, was indicated there by Beth Brown. So big bowl by Jo Edwards.
Looked like,
yeah. So big moment from being down on the head. Drive well executed by Jo Edwards. And looks like we do have the first point on the board as well, because I see Val Smith and Colin Earl watching on. So it looks like they have shaken hands in the Peers. So Nelson in the first match in this final. It is Val Smith and Colleen Earl beating Sarah Scott and Bronwyn Stevens.
Well, really 4 shots away from winning now the Intercentre title, with Jo Edwards sitting on 21-14 over Beth Brown, and the 4s we know is pretty tight encounter.
But it may be academic, as it may become in the men's as well. The men's Peers and 4s may finish around a similar time.
As you said, Brennan, like Southland and Auckland did go head-to-head in section play, and this Peers combination, well, if it was that Peers combination, Auckland did win the Peers in the round robin section play, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen for them here. I'll be disappointed, because it is a very good Auckland side.
Oh, it certainly is.
It's a very good side. Good opening bowl here from Edwards, coming down towards the jack, right on the centre line. Just falls lower the jack, but a good opening bowl leading 21-14, and the Peers in the bag for Nelson.
I think Gary Lawson made the move to the Auckland team to join a team that was going to be making up the numbers, and he came to try and win this title with Auckland.
He certainly did.
There's still a chance, but it's looking quite slim here. Going to need something special to happen in the Peers alongside Gary Lawson's 4s team. It's that 2 ends to play in the Peers. Southland up by 7, and they have that cushion of having already been on the board. 1-0 up. They won the singles. Craig Murley's taking that out over Jamie Hill, 25-16. Nelson on the board first, and the women's final in front of us as well. Peers, and now Jo Edwards 4 away from winning. Nelson, its 5th National Intercentre title. Southland looking for its maiden National Intercentre title.
Well, it's, to be fair to the Southland combinations, there's some very good players in that side. Sheldon Bagley-Howley, Craig Murleys, Elliot Mason, Chris Tinkler. These are guys that have been around. You know, we, in fact, earlier on this year, Brendan, we did the commentary of Sheldon Bagley-Howley and Chris Tinkler at the Nationals in Auckland, where they got defeated. We saw Sheldon Bagley-Howley, of course, do reasonably quarterfinals of the mixed Peers.
Well, it's not like they've done it the easy way. They haven't had an easy draw.
Absolutely not.
They beat the defending champions in the quarterfinals, Canterbury. They beat the host centre in Wellington in the semi-finals.
They've done the hard work, haven't
they? And if they beat Auckland, they've beaten the 3 bigger centres.
Absolutely.
So it'll be a well-earned victory if they can pull it off. They're oh so close. Southland, Hazard, Nelson. Oh so close. It's all locked up in the 4s between Dunedin and Nelson. You can see on that previous scoreboard, 11 apiece, 13 of the 15 ends played. But Joe Edwards 4 shots away, holding a shot here on this end.
And going to the ditch then. And I must admit, well, not admit, but it's pleasing to see, Brendan, I would say, the maturity in the last 18 months was seen with Sheldon Bagrihalli and his overall game management. I was talking to Mike Kernan at lunchtime and applauding how he has his game management, and I think that's all come down to his move to play with Gary Lawson in the fours last year at Mount Maunganui, of course, where they won the New Zealand fours, and I just thought it just put some maturity in his total game management. And again here, he's certainly been, just playing with sensible maturity and getting results for it.
Yeah, we noticed it in Bowls 3-5, and I think I even said it to Sheldon Bagrihalli at the time, and I think he put it down to a bit of mental skills work as well.
He has had some mental skills work.
Not getting too carried away. He does like to celebrate when he plays a good bowl, which is fine, but he forgets about it almost straight away after that. And same if he has a bad bowl, he doesn't dwell on it, and that's been a key thing.
He's matured significantly as a player, and most of it he's always had the ability. You don't want to ever question Sheldon Bagrihalli's ability, but it's about how his game management, game maturity has changed significantly in the last 2 seasons, and full marks to him because they're very close to being rewarded with the Inter-Centre title, and it's certainly looking that way as I watch Bagrihalli right now draw a toucher. There you go.
Right on cue.
Right on cue. Draws a toucher.
And that may be the final nail, because I think Mike Galloway just has the one bowl to play.
Got to try and drive the jack in the ditch. Only option.
So obviously, I understand you can't see what we're talking about. We're trying to keep you up to date with what is the happenings of the men's final as well as the women's final in front of us, and we could be reaching the conclusion of the...
And he hasn't killed it, so that is game. Just saw...
Well, unless they've picked up a couple. No, it is. They're shaking hands, and that is it. So Southland are the National Inter-Centre champions for the first time. A big congratulations to this Southland team who have done the job over Auckland, and as I mentioned just moments ago, beat the defending champions Canterbury in the quarterfinal, beat the host centre Wellington in the semi-final this morning, and now taking down the heavyweights led by Gary Lawson in the final. Got the job done firstly in the singles, Craig Merrilees over Jamie Hill 25-16, and now in the pairs it's Sheldon Bagrihalli and Elliot Mason beating Mike Galloway and Tony Grantham. Congratulations also to Shane Elliott, Brian Harvey, Steve Sanders and Craig Tinker, who made up there for Southland are the National Inter-Centre champions for 2021, and now all that's remained is to crown our women's winners, and Nelson certainly advantage to Nelson's side, 22-14. Joe Edwards leading Beth Brown in the singles, and they have already taken out the pairs by way of Val Smith and Colleen Earl.
So congratulations to Southland, a well-deserved win in this Inter-Centre, no question about that. They were commanding really in the Auckland game. Craig Merrilees continuing from yesterday, where of course he defeated Andrew Kelly. This morning he defeated Seamus Curtin, has been in fine form, and now defeated of course Jamie Hill. The pairs really were in control of the game most throughout, and then the fours really didn't really matter in the long run. So deserved winners, men from the south to win their very first Inter-Centre title, and celebration for the southern men, and well deserved. And could we have both of these? Well, we definitely both the titles are going to be won by the South Island, that's for sure. As Joe Edwards holding the shot here, leading 22-14 in the race to 25. Beth Brown just draws down and lower the jack and will be shot. This is the Southlands day for sure. They're first, and is it going to be Nelson's fifth? And it's looking pretty ominous at this point, with the pairs already locked away for Nelson. And Joe Edwards leading 22-14 in this race to 25. She's going to turn her own ball over to get shot, and will draw shot there, Jack Level.
It's a pretty tough task for Beth Brown to come back from 8 shots down against a player like Joe Edwards. Has done absolutely everything there is in the game of bowls internationally, Commonwealth Games golds, World Championship titles, and now trying to win a 5th National Inter-Centre title for Nelson.
So here is now Beth Brown down on the head, one down on the head at 22-14 to Joe Edwards. Beth Brown trying to draw past the Joe Edwards bowl or get underneath it cleanly to the jack. Not quite going to do so. The bowl needs to fall in to give her that result. Joe Edwards asking who's got the shot, asking Sue Wei, and Sue Wei indicating to Joe Edwards, you're holding the shot. 1 to Edwards. And Joe Edwards now will endeavour to draw past there on her backhand.
That's interesting. We might actually see the 4s complete before our singles match here. Our last couple of bowls on the penultimate end. So unless Joe Edwards gets this wrapped up pretty quickly, this could be the last match to finish of these National Inter-Centre Championships for 2021. That's not going to change the situation.
No, it's not. It's lower the jack, that bowler Joe Edwards is. And Beth Brown fighting all the way here for her Dunedin side. See Val Smith sitting up there with Mike Kernahan, happy that the work is done.
And what a performance it was as well against, as I mentioned, if you joined us late, I was waxing lyrical about Sarah Scott, Bronwyn Stevens, who are a perfect 8-0 at these National Inter-Centre Championships in the pairs, and then they ran into a brick wall, which was Val Smith and Colleen Earl, who absolutely raced away.
So Beth Brown is going to be under the head, needs to turn her own bowl over to get a counter. No, it's not going to. And so Joe Edwards now coming to have a look. And congratulations to Southland.
Yeah, we'll endeavour to speak to at least a member of their winning side. We'll also have an interview from the winning side from our women's final as well, which at the moment is looking very much like Nelson, but Dunedin will no doubt continue to fight, come up with something here, and so if they can grab something in the 4s, then they can give Beth Brown a sniff.
Well, I go back yesterday to that match, the Canterbury match in the quarterfinals, which was set up by Craig Merrilies with a 25-12 win over Andrew Kelly, and that just set them up nicely, and he's continued that consistency as Joe Edwards again. This is going to come up short, and really the shot for Brown, it's going to endeavour to play that as Beth Brown try and play to her own bowls in front, turn those bowls over, or turn one of the bowls over, can make shot of it. Still staying in there, hanging in there. See all the Southland boys there together at the end with some of the Southland women's side celebrating their win, a well-deserved win. And here is Beth Brown now on her backhand, needing to reach up to turn the bowls into the head. And is it going to come back all the way to get to that result? Don't think it's got the weight, Brendan, to get all the way it wants to, has it? No, it hasn't. That'll be another one to Joe Edwards.
Yeah, so now only 2 away. Joe Edwards, 23-14. She leads Beth Brown and Nelson 2 shots away from claiming their 5th National Inter-Centre title and joining Southland is champion. Southland, you have just joined us, taken out the men's title, taking out Canterbury, Wellington, and then Auckland in the final to do so. Big congratulations to the men from down south. There'll be quite some celebrations, I can imagine, today.
That's three
and
huge.
Tonight.
That's huge. Three huge scalps, isn't it? Canterbury, Wellington, Auckland.
Well, you can't say they fluked it.
Absolutely
Can
not.
you?
Not at all.
When you take down
Not
those three centres, the three biggest centres in the country, to do it.
And the big thing was, of course, the start which Craig Murley's gave them each one of those three matches, winning his 3 singles games, and that just makes such a big difference. And up against Fury, he's up against yesterday Andrew Kelly, this morning Seamus Curtin, and then Jamie Hill, and defeating all 3 of them. It's really great performance from the Southland singles player, and of course the team overall. As you see, the first bowler, Joe Edwards, which is short. And Beth Brown going to run into that. I'm sure Joe Edwards needs it. She's got 1.5 meters to get past on that clear path to the jack. Just see the score being changed on that fours game.
Oh, it's a big number for Nelson, so it makes it even harder for Dunedin. So they were, from memory, locked up at 11 apiece, weren't they? So now 14-11. Just wait to get a clearer view. But yeah, 14-11 it is, and we're playing now the last end in the fours. So Kirsten Edwards skipped Nelson quartet, playing with Amy McElroy, Katie Scott and Gemma Watt, leading Angie Francis, Vicky Robinson, Jan Hall and Shona Mann of Dunedin. 14-11 playing the last end, so that may well finish before our singles match, which could make the singles match academic, unless Joe Edwards can pick up 2 here, because she's only 2 away.
She is only 2 away, and second ball in fact went into the ditch, and this is going to help Joe Edwards, because we're going to see Beth Brown run into the Joe Edwards bowl, turn it in towards the head, and it was a long way short. It's got a few rolls made out of it, and definitely be shot insensibly. Joe Edwards going to the forehand. There's nothing to run into. She knows that she's got 1.5 meters at least to draw the shot in, and then really put the pressure on the Dunedin singles player Beth Brown, because that would leave Joe Edwards holding the 2 shots and the holding game, and she doesn't like this one. She's actually hasn't been what I'd call happy out there today. It's been challenging the conditions, but I'd be pretty happy with this, Brendan, when you saw her walk away straight away.
That's a bad bowl. I'd take that if I could produce that once a day.
Well, it's interesting. As soon as Joe Evans played that bowl, she walked away from it, thinking it's nowhere near it, and there it is, draws.
Yeah, she's just shaking her head almost in disbelief that ended up there.
Didn't think it was going there. Just to confirm, Southland are the men's National Inter-Centre champions for 2021 after they defeated Auckland in both the singles and the pairs. The fours was not completed, didn't matter, of course. So Southland, the deserved winners, as we see Beth Brown now match down, trying to save for Dunedin, who have already lost the singles. And there's a good attempt here from the Dunedin singles player, and just goes through the port. And in the fours, it's Nelson leading 14-11 as they play the last end. Joe Edwards holding the win here for Nelson. Still it. And bowl to come yet, of course, from Beth Brown. Oh, one more bowl left. Joe Edwards won't want to go anywhere near the head, so you draw it. Not going to give her a shoulder, man. She's certainly not going to. Going to draw, in fact, a front toucher.
Oh, now, lovely bowl.
Now, what do you do now?
Oh, that could be it. Yeah, she has low fives with a couple of teammates who are playing the fours alongside her, because that may have just sealed it for Nelson. Stick with us. We will have interviews, reaction from the winning Nelson side, and also endeavour to talk to a member of the winning Southland side as well.
So here is Beth Brown trying to save the match here, or a chance for the Dunedin side, and looks to be on the wide side. Has to break a long way, not going to.
And that'll do it.
It's Nelson.
Nelson again for the 5th time. They are national inter-centre champions. And it's appropriate that it's Jo Edwards who seals it, because that is her 5th title, of course, all with Nelson. 25-14 it finishes. And after that big win in the pairs, Jo Edwards sealing it with that singles victory, and Nelson claim it for a 5th time at Dunedin's expense. But overall, pretty comprehensive performance from Nelson. Jo Edwards wasn't at her very, very best, but she produced it when she needed to, and that was exemplified right then.
Certainly was, Brendan. It was always going to be a big challenge for Dunedin, because if we look at that Nelson side with the likes of Jo Edwards leading the way in the singles, with Val Smith and Colleen Earl in the pairs, Kirsten Edwards, Amy McElroy, Katie Scott and Gemma Watt, a very, very strong side, and it was always going to be a big challenge for the Dunedin side of Beth Brown and playing the singles, Sarah Scott and Bronwyn Stevens in the pairs, who lost their very first game, and this is the inter-centre. And the fours side with Angie Francis skipping, Vicky Robinson, Jan Hall and Shona Mann. And not to be for them today, it was Nelson who ran out the winners, deservedly so. And in the men we saw Southland, who I think have been the giant killers of this event, where they beat Canterbury yesterday in the quarterfinals. This morning they beat Wellington, and this afternoon they were too strong for the Auckland side. And that's the side of Craig Merrilies, Sheldon Bagley Howley, Elliot Mason, Chris Tinkler, Steve Sanders, Brian Harvey and the skipper of the fours, Shane Elliott. They were the deserved winners, beating the Auckland side of Jamie Hill playing the singles, Tony Grantham and Mike Galloway, Rory Soden, Aidan Takara, Jordan King and Gary Lawson. So both the men's and the ladies' titles go to the south, and I'll now pass you over to Brendan Van Nistelrooy, who's got Jo Edwards with him, and we go to Brendan right now.
Yes, indeed I do. Jo Edwards is here, capping that win for Nelson. A 5th national inter-centre title for Jo Edwards and the Nelson Centre. Congratulations, Jo. Didn't seem your happiest out there on the green, but when it mattered most, you delivered.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was playing the wrong hand. It was pretty tough conditions, actually. It was quite swirling, and the ones that felt good were metres away. And so, yeah, it was about trying to tame your frustrations, I think, and just really trying to get closer than Beth, really.
Set up by Val earlier in the pairs. What a performance that was, because I don't know if you know, but Bronwyn and Sarah were unbeaten at these National Inter-Centre Championships, and then they ran into that steam train. Oh,
look, that's the way it goes, isn't it? You know, Val's been playing so good. She's won 2 games with her last bowl, including the semi-final. You know, won it for us to get us through to the final, and that Colleen apparently played very, very well leading up for Val, and yeah, it's been a really good pairs. I think they've only dropped 1 game all tournament too, so it's a great achievement for them.
You've obviously given up playing internationally, but playing for Nelson obviously means a lot to you.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I've played pretty much all my bowls in Nelson, and it's a great group of friends off the green as well, and it's good fun to come away with them.
Looking forward to a few drinks tonight with the team, because it's been a great team effort throughout, not just you in the singles and pairs, but the 4 as well played very well throughout.
Definitely, you know, we've been a real good team of 8, and we've chopped and changed a little bit, and I think they've got those selections right. And like I say, you can't do it. No one person or one discipline can win it for you, but it's been a hell of a great team performance the whole 3 days.
Well, congratulations once again, and enjoy. Jo Edwards, our successful singles champion from the Nelson team. We're going to now bring in Sheldon Baggery Howley from the champion Southland side as well. Congratulations, Sheldon Baggery Howley.
Cheers.
What does it mean for Southland, the small centre, to take out, we were talking about in commentary, you took down the defending champions Canterbury in the quarterfinals, Wellington, the hosts in the semis, and then Auckland, the powerhouse side. You didn't make it easy for yourselves, but you did it in quite fine style.
Oh well, that sort of that hard road makes it all the better, really. No, it's the first one for Southland, so no, it's quite emotional within the whole team. Tony was in tears at the end of it, the old fella. So, but no, it means a lot, and definitely that hard road just makes it all even better.
Make it extra satisfying that you were the team that managed to clinch it in the pairs too.
Yeah, no, a couple of big ones here and there, but it was good. Likes of, you got to take your hat off to Craig in the singles. Apart from a couple of wee hiccups in qualifying, he played outstanding in the last 2 days when it really mattered. So big ups to him. And then, the fours were hanging in. So if it didn't come out down to us, I would have put them to get across the line as well. So.
Yeah, Craig really set it up, didn't he? Because there was Andrew Kelly in the quarterfinal, Seamus Curtin this morning, and then Jamie Hill.
Yeah, no, so he's had probably the hardest road. but it's definitely a big one.
How does Southland celebrate this now?
Probably not the words for TV, but there will be a couple of beverages sunken, I suppose. But we're sponsored by a tavern, so hopefully they're open by the time we get home and hit that up.
Yeah, I suppose now the step goes to how do you defend this? How does a small centre like Southland do this, and how do you do it again?
The majority of us put in a lot of preparation leading up into this, and especially likes of Craig, and it really showed. We just got to reevaluate next year and see who's available, and hopefully it's the same team, and just prepare again and crack on wherever it is.
Yeah, because you lost Caleb Hope, didn't you? Got rid of him and got stronger.
Well, it was sort of like, with the 3-5, we sort of just tried to get rid of the deadwood. No, he'll kill me for saying that. But it was a bit of a shock him leaving when we had such a good peers partnership, him and I. But Elliot stepped up to the plate, and it was a good replacement, and yeah.
Well, about to have the presentation. Congratulations once again. We'll let you get your trophy.
Cheers.
Sheldon Bagri-Howley from the successful Southland Centre, which took out the men. Nelson winning the women, and that concludes our ceremony here from the National Intercentre from the Wilton Bowling Club. I hope you have and enjoyed our coverage throughout. It is Southland and Nelson who take out the titles.